flip. Like half of the core pieces of advice that some of these people are giving, like for example, test your girlfriend, cheat on her. In what world is that logical to anybody?
Yeah.
Oh, if she stays with you, she loves you. No, if she stays with you, she has Stockholm syndrome. Like this is not complicated. So in a way, it's almost like they're trying to create a subservient group of women and a free to do whatever they want group of men. I'm confused by the women who follow these men. Because I think this is so counterintuitive to your existence. This is so odd. This is so denigrating. Yeah, they really confuse me.
Welcome to Manosphere Highlights Daily. Shout out to Triggernometry and Sydney Watson for this video. Very interesting conversation and a lot of food for thought. There's a segment about some content creators in the red pill space that I would like to give my thoughts on. I put emphasis on some because that's exactly what they say in this video. So no offense taken. But the fact that the red pill is misrepresented is problematic. So let's talk about it.
Now it's time for us to get into this and do what we gotta do. Because we men, ain't we? We men, ain't we?
This is it's really hard for me to articulate because I think that there's a lot of significant male problems that do deserve the limelight. And they deserve to be considered uniquely and separately to women's issues. I really believe that. And I've seen that in practice. There's major issues when it comes to divorce court. There's major issues when it comes to child custody. There's so many things, male suicide, male loneliness, so many of these things that are just so widely overlooked. And when men complain about it, people go, well, too bad, how sad. You're never gonna get preferential treatment here. The trouble though is, and this is what I'm noticing, when you talk about those things enough, and this is why I dislike the Andrew Tates of the world and some of these red pill people who've come up in recent years, rather than saying men and women have unique problems that must be addressed independently of each other in order to fix them. And some of them, yes, let's support each other and come together on them. Instead, what happens is, well, men have it really hard or women have it really hard. Let's hate the opposite sex. And I hate that. I hate when feminists do it. I think it's so ridiculously unhelpful because men are wonderful. We need men. Society functions way better when we have men around, and the same goes for women. You have these people who are like, well, I had a horrible negative experience going through divorce court with my ex-wife, and now I just think all women are garbage trash people who are going to take all of my money. It's like, sir, no. And that's such an odd way of going about viewing the world. It's like you're looking behind every corner waiting for someone to just stab you. And I just don't understand why people follow people who make them feel that way.
She is not talking about everyone. Therefore, no offense is taken. However, listening to how Sydney Watson explained that last part about a divorced man sounds ridiculous, right? That's why context is essential. You cannot be a credible source and represent the truth, which is the red pill, without bringing out the data and statistics that confirm the message that you must protect yourself at all times. It's in the nature of women to try to date/marry higher in socioeconomic status to gain access to resources. Sydney Watson mentioned men's issues regarding divorce court. So with more than 50% of marriages ending in divorce, the average length of first marriages for divorcing couples at 8.2 years, and 70 to 80% of divorces initiated by women, you must be a fool, if not a crazy fool, not to protect yourself at all times. We provided many examples of women who claim they are not like that. They are different and would never divorce rape their husbands. The problem is that when it does happen, you are screwed for life. Why do you think insurance exists? Is the juice worth the squeeze? So it's not about waiting behind every corner for someone to stab you. No, it's about being prepared. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the results of 100 battles.
It's
validating their prejudice, I think.
Yeah, and also what these people are doing, some of the people that we're discussing, is they're monetizing resentment.
Yes, that's exactly it. That's such a good way of putting it. Basically what they're doing is they're drumming up all this hatred, they're riling up these bases of people who are so lost and angry, and they're making money off of it. And I'm like, you're so gross. At least when I was making my content, and I still talk about men's issues now, it's just to a lesser extent because I do feel like women are kind of getting the raw end of the deal in a lot of ways, particularly with, with relation to the trans movement and whatnot. But when I would talk about men's issues, I always tried to make the point of saying we are just better together.
Yeah.
Society just functions way better when men and women can work it out and support each other.
This is where we go to work. This is why we provide commentary, and this is why you are subscribed to this channel. We don't just run our mouths over here. We are very keen on words. Janice, resentment.
Resentment, a feeling of anger because you have been forced to accept something that you do not like.
This definition speaks for itself. Once again, no offense is taken by our channel. We made this channel for men, and our message is to protect yourself at all times. That's why it's essential to highlight what it is to protect yourself from. And we do that on a daily basis. When it comes to monetizing resentment, it doesn't have to be negative. For instance, when resentment is directed at individuals, organizations, or institutions engaging in unethical or harmful practices, monetizing resentment can serve as a means of holding them accountable. This can lead to legal actions, investigations, or other measures to rectify wrongdoing. Raising awareness about issues that have caused resentment or harm can lead to positive change, and being a part of that process can be empowering and therapeutic. We receive many messages from men expressing how much our channel has helped them, and that's pure gold. Men's voices need to be heard, and men's issues need to be addressed. I don't care who you are listening to, as long as that individual is genuinely looking out for your best interest. Because at the end of the day, we men, ain't we? Shit. Of course, men and women are stronger together, but sell me marriage in modern Western society. Sell marriage to the younger generation of men in modern Western society who seem more inclined to invest their time in video games or porn than pursuing traditional relationships with girlfriends. I'm not gonna sit here and sell you a freaking fairy tale. If you consider that hate speech, then you're adding more fuel to the fire, and this space will only grow larger.
This is what I always say. I say any ideology, and I'm glad you mentioned that it happens on both sides, because it does. Any ideology that wants to pretend that men and women are... The relationship between men and women is best described as a conflict. Any ideology that wants to push men and women apart is cancer. It's absolutely toxic, and there are forms of feminism, not all of them, but there are forms of feminism that do that. And a lot of the red pill stuff that's coming out now, you're just going... And I'm looking at a lot of these people, and what I don't understand is why people don't look at the people who are saying this stuff and go, would I want to be like you?
Yeah.
You see, this is why monetization on YouTube is important, because we made a video called Misconceptions About the Manosphere and the Red Pill, the Manosphere Explained. In that video, we explained that the Red Pill is not a philosophy or an ideology. It's reality. In other words, the truth. Seeing the world as it truly is. And guess what? That video got demonetized, which means YouTube doesn't promote it and the right message doesn't reach the masses. That video contains no hate speech at all. So here we are talking about some content creators or influencers with a lot of followers saying stuff like, it's okay to beat women, disrespect women, cheat on your wife, or have multiple girlfriends. That's not Red Pill. That's his opinion, his idea of dealing with women. And because these content creators have the biggest platform, people immediately assume that's what the red pill and the manosphere stands for, which is bullshit. The manosphere is decentralized. The manosphere as a whole consists of a huge range of voices and perspectives. That's why this space is pure gold. And that's why we stick to our mission to spread the red pill truth and help men protect themselves at all times. And the truth is, men and women are in conflict with each other. That's not an ideology, with over 50% of adult Americans being single for the first time in history. Birth rate is at an all-time low all over the world, and because we no longer follow traditional roles, it makes it confusing for men to navigate the dating scene. And guess who they are pointing the finger at? Men. That's why you see these contradicting articles like men are lost, or men are single and lonely, but women are single and empowered. All I'm offering is the truth.
This is the other thing too, and I'm going to try not to come after my own team too much talking to you guys, because I find that one of the things I've noticed, and this is why I've withdrawn quite significantly from, you know, the conservative movement, because I realized that I don't fit in there. They probably don't want me anyway. So now I'm just kind of this right-wing person who oscillates between libertarian and whatever
Welcome
else.
to the controlled opposition.
The one thing
That's where we are.
Yeah.
Exactly that
Well,
same
that's
place.
that's why I was like, at least talking with you guys, I feel comfortable saying this stuff, because I know that you are on the same page to an extent, and even if you're not, you won't be buttholes about disagreeing. Whereas I have been in some situations where I've been asked a simple question about these topics. I answer it as to the best of my ability, without trying to insult anybody or be unkind or whatever the case, and people act like I have just burned down their house. And I just think, how as a society are we supposed to evolve if we can't talk about the issues even within our own communities? And one of the things that I have noticed recently, and this is one of the very sad things, is that a lot of the female, not only commentators, but and pundits and whatnot that I know who are on the right, but just girlfriends of mine who are right-wing or, you know, conservative, whatever, they're shifting away from this ideology because they're like, I'm not wanted here. Like, everything gets passed off as me being a problem, or this is a problem. And so when you talk about the red pill people and the way that they behave and the way that they sort of postulate and present themselves, you do think, would I want to be like this? And the trouble is that it's exactly like that for some conservative people who say all these things on the internet. They say all these things to their audiences, they do their talks and their shows and whatever. And then behind the scenes, they live a completely contradictory life. And I think it's just so ridiculous to me that you're out here trying to divide people so aggressively when you yourself are not even living by the same value system that you try to enforce upon others. And a lot of that, again, comes down to women must be subservient, women must be this, women must be that, don't marry a hoe, don't do all these things. And I think, oh my God, like if people only knew how you behaved in your own time, in your personal life, they would have a completely different perception of all the crap that you're saying.
But as far as I know, these grifters are called out every time. Correct me if I'm wrong, fellas. As for women in this male space, they play a significant role in spreading the message. Women can navigate waters that men can't, and they can say and do things men can't get away with. So women in the manosphere is not necessarily negative. But like I always say, women are women first. The Constitution is and remains: protect yourself at all times. Chameleons exist, and yes, they monetize resentment. We didn't know Samantha Lee was Tyrese's ex-wife. You see how fast her channel grew just for repeating Manosphere talking points. That's why it's a hard no. Women cannot come into this space and say whatever they want. This is a male space. This is about what we want. That's why I agree with Sydney Watson for moving to a space where she can have the conversation she wants. Like we always say, go where you are appreciated.
But would they, Sydney? Or would they be like, this is our team, screw the other team, this is my boy, he's sticking it to them?
Probably there's a large portion of people who would still be like that. This is why the Andrew Tate stuff is just totally thrown me for a loop, because people always go, well, I want to know when someone's a bad person, and then you have all these people going, well, here's him basically self-reporting that he's not a great person. I mean, should we not listen to words that have come out of his own face? And they go, no, he didn't mean it like that. And they justify. And I go, so how can you fix the issues in your own community if you can't even call out the bad faith actors?
Manosphere, we working. Protect yourself at all times. This video has officially been highlighted.